Hi everyone, welcome. We're just going to wait for a little bit to add our panelists and we'll head off quickly after that. Excellent. Hi Shari, thanks so much for
Hey.
coming on today. Thank you. And hopefully, hi everyone, welcome. Okay, so we'll get started. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. We have our two panelists here with us, so I'll just let them get acquainted. But first of all, I'll start off our webinar series. Hi, Charlie, how are you going? With a acknowledgement to country. So I would like to acknowledge with respect the earth, skies, waterways and spiritual systems of the traditional owners of the land on which I work, the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nations. I acknowledge our Aboriginal students and families and pay respects to the elders past and present and emerging. I do this in the spirit of reconciliation as we move to a place of justice and partnership as we together we walk on this gentle land. So I hope that really brings a beautiful welcome to our presentation today. So thank you so much for joining us today for the World Animal Welfare Day for October 4th. I'll just start with a little bit of an intro to what today is and why we're here doing what we're doing today. And then we'll go ahead and welcome our first panelist, Charles, after that. So let's get started. So World Animal Day is a global event celebrated each year on the 4th of October. The mission of this social movement is to raise the status of animals and improve welfare standards across the globe. All creatures deserve a high standard of living, that is without no doubt there. So through the actions of individuals, businesses and policies of nations, all lives of animals can be improved for sure. By increasing awareness and education by the public for animal welfare issues, for Animal Welfare Day, it encourages the participations of individuals across the nation to help fight for social justice and improvement of animal welfare standards. So what I'll do is I will introduce Charles, who is our first panelist. So welcome, big welcome, Dr. Charles El-Hage. El-Hage. Thank you so much for joining us today. I know we met quite some time ago when you came into Stop One and grabbed some of the old first aid supplies that I was trying to give away, and yeah, it was really fantastic to meet you in person, but we're also having this virtual experience, so thank you so much for logging on today. We talked about having a bit of a Q&A. I'm wondering, is that still are you okay if we rock and roll on that area into that area?
Absolutely, Kate. Yeah.
Excellent, excellent. So as you can see here, everyone, Charlie's got a bit of a few, I guess, letters behind his name. So you can see that he's very well versed in in veterinary sciences, and has also, we're really lucky to have him as a lecturer in clinical studies at Melbourne University's veterinary faculty of vet med. So really, really excited to have you here. I guess we talked. I've done a bit of a research. You've done a lot. And I was just wondering, what started it? What planted the seed of getting into vet med?
Yeah. It's funny, Kate, because I actually felt, this term imposter syndrome, I think I was 30 years before I heard of it. But I think I felt like one in vet school. I thought a lot of other people had, they had farms or horses or real experience, and all I ever had was a turtle, a sheep, and a duck, and I just used to love them, but I never used to think anything more. I didn't think that would be my path at all. I thought maybe I should be an architect. I was convinced I shouldn't be a doctor because I didn't like the thought of people suffering, and I still don't. Mm-hmm. And that's why I've got into animal welfare, particularly overseas, because I want to help people and their animals. So I got into veterinary science. The only other thing was I used to go to a riding school not far from where I lived. I just lived near Heidelberg or Greensboro, and they had a riding school. They wouldn't have one there now, they'd be houses, but they had a riding school, and they had lots of nice girls associated with the horses. So that's, I kind of schmoozed my way into veterinary science via all these other things.
That's fantastic. I know the Greensboro area growing up, I think a lot of incredible horses around there. They're beautiful. And what a space to grow up in, where it was merging into into the more suburbs area, and sort of with that natural, you'd be able to see kangaroos and koalas and blue tongues. Yeah, beautiful. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I used to swim in the Yarra River near Eltham, near Montsalvat. And,
beautiful.
And I'd see platypuses sometimes, So I guess even though I was a city kid, I somehow became very attracted to nature and our environment. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. Wow, what a start. So I'm wondering, so what, you've gone through and become a vet after, going through the turmoil of trying to decide as a youth. I think it's hard for all of us. I'm just wondering, what your studies at the moment are primarily research into disease, especially in equine or horses, for people like myself who maybe don't know what equine is. I'm just wondering, what drew you in there, and what's the seed passion there?
Yeah, so look, when I graduated, I just moved to the country and became a country vet. And, I think I just loved life, and I loved the animals, but I loved the people too. One thing I was going to tell you, Kate, is that probably the biggest honour of being a vet is not only treating animals, but people take you into their confidence, and you become enmeshed in their, particularly as a country vet, you become enmeshed in their lives and their livelihoods. So that's a theme that has actually carried on. So I was really happy as a country vet, but I guess after a few years, I started to think, well, maybe I could be part of a bigger picture. And I used to see things like something in horses called stringholt, where they walk like Basil Fawlty. And I would see a whole lot of horses with that. I'd look at the literature, and I saw this wonderful man, Dr. Kendall, who was here in the 1880s, and he documented all this stuff about stringholt. And in essence, no one had progressed that story of Kendall. Now, he was either brilliant and obviously before his time, but I thought, come on, we can do better than Dr. Kendall in 1880, which we struggled to. But so I started doing a little bit of research and interest in stringholt. and melanomas in grey horses I started seeing. So I felt like that was something that might um, create a little bit more drive and passion in what I was doing. And I think I was right. And I encourage everyone who sees a lot of something to actually be part of the story. So that's and later on, Kate, it's Ross River virus in horses. I've become, if you Google Ross River horses, I should pop up. But I've actually thought horses would be, not only is it a welfare issue for horses, but again, it became really apparent to me that a lot of people suffer terribly from Ross River virus. And I thought horses, and I'm still arguing this with the state veterinary authorities and even the chief health officer, that horses can be used as sentinels. So if you bleed a whole lot of horses and they start showing antibodies or seroconverting to Ross River virus, that's a warning that, hang on, there's going to be Ross River virus in this community, and it's been shown that's the case. But more so, Kate, I'm now asking for funding to say that, well, unfortunately, horses may actually amplify that virus and create an opportunity for mosquitoes to spread it to people. So that's a story that people don't want to hear, but that's something that I want more research money for, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. I'm just wondering, where would you be posting that if people are interested in looking into that more and looking into maybe helping out with funding?
Yeah, that's a really good good suggestion. I'm a bit shit when it comes to funding and raising money. I'm not good. I'll think about that, Kate. I think I'll speak to I've got a supervisor, Professor James Gilkison. He's a lot more savvy when it comes to that. So, awesome. Kate, I'll send you something when I get around. You've motivated me. Thank you.
Fantastic. We're excited. I know all of us youth are excited on social media. So, that would be great place to start. Okay, cool. Excellent. Well, that's a lot already. I'm wondering as well, as a vet and a researcher, what do you think some of the actions we can take on now to help animal welfare? Just off the top of your head.
Yeah. So I guess, as a researcher and as someone who loves animals, I thought, well, will I be a spoiler and say to you, I think with animal welfare, even though it's such a passion, it's such an emotional, visceral thing that people want to, stop a dog from being starved, or they want to do something about the skinny horse they drive past in the paddock. And so the one-off things are very passionate and they drive people. And I encourage people to do things like, help out at dog shelters, volunteer for BirdLife, another wonderful organisation, doing any kind of charitable work that helps animals, because usually it's usually good for everyone, including the person who does it. But yeah, taking a step back and being a bit clinical and cold about it, but incredibly insightful. I think be careful when you say, I don't want to buy battery chickens' eggs because they're cruel, or I don't want to, I think Melbourne Cup horse racing should be banned because it's cruel. I say, yes, you might be emotive about that, but by all means, be emotive about it and maybe ask questions about it, but look to the research, I suppose. So I would ask people to, follow their passion, but be objective as they can. So look at what research has been done about that, and then taking a step back even further, Kate. So 2 steps back is help the world. Like, really, the world is in trouble, and animals all over the world are in trouble because of our freaking climate change policies and our habitat destruction. So I'm going to go on 3 levels there. And as a researcher, accept the research that the world is in trouble and do something about that. Look at your individual concerns and find out, how much do chickens hate is it we that hate chickens being in a cage? And I'm not saying they do, but I have heard some research that if you gave chickens a choice, maybe they don't really want to be outside being swooped by eagles. And I don't know. I'm not saying that's the case, but I'm saying ask questions. Don't just anthropomorphize. Look at whatever research you can get. Be passionate and do shit, but do it on a lot of levels. Kate, how's that for an answer?
I really like that. And I really like the fact that, you know, he says 3 levels, but, you know, really it's a drawback of what can I do now? Make sure that I'm not impacting the earth and the habitats, the natural, you know, Greensboro is now a suburb. It's a city suburb, but it was, even in, you know, the 90s and early 2000s, it still had massive areas of natural tree lands that weren't really touched. And, you know, there was platypus in the river, and, you know, they went for a bit. So, and that was because of pollution, because of us. So you really have to step it right back and be like, what's my impact personally? I think hearing that really solidifies and lights the fire even more. It's more like a bonfire now for me. Recycle.
So, you know, volunteering, if you live around somewhere where there's a river or a park, you know, volunteer there and agitate, you know, look after it. So, and I think to their credit, a lot of councils are making efforts to revegetate areas. But yeah, that's another thing, you know, not just protesting at the Melbourne Cup. If you do that, if you want to do that, but match that with something that maybe helps the environment, you know, and that's, you know, helping with your green spaces around where you are.
Yeah, absolutely. It's less of being like a Facebook warrior or Instagram warrior and putting up like, oh, I don't agree with this, but more like taking, what are your next actions?
Boots on the ground. I think mixing with people that are passionate, you know, I was going to tell you, Kate, I was thinking over the weekend, I got this phone call, 7 o'clock Saturday morning, Charlie, there's a magpie fallen out of a tree in the main street of my town, you know, and I said, that's what it is about being fed. I could easily say it's Saturday morning and I'm not working, but I said, look, I'll call some wildlife people, and in the end, they got an arborist to come and put this magpie back up. I thought they'd take them. I guess there's a problem with taking magpies away, but they put it back up. So I guess what I'm saying here is I got involved with, because I'm a softie and I answer my phone on Saturday morning, even though I'm not materially invested. I thought I better, because you were telling me I was talking to you about welfare and I better be nice. But I got involved with helping some hooded plovers on our local beach. And I know nothing about hooded plovers, and they actually put on Facebook, we knew there was a hooded plover that was injured, and we searched all the small animal vets and bird vets we could find, and we couldn't find anyone except Charles El-Hage, who's a horse vet from Werribee. And so that was their introduction. So I thought, and I had to get up at 7 in the morning and go down and look at this. I thought, well, this isn't a great start. And I wasn't that inspired by it, but I ended up just becoming, because I met these passionate people, I became so enamored with what they do. So a long way of saying, don't just post on Facebook, meet real people and be inspired. And I think, to be honest, Kate, I reckon that's probably my biggest message to anyone. Meet people that are interested, and they usually, among them, will be inspiring, beautiful, humbling people. And that's what that hooded plover story did to me, put me right back in my socks and made me help every bird I can.
Fantastic. What a humbling experience for you. I guess, you know, this is a bit of a question because, you know, I'm a bit of a, you know, we all like a bit of gossip. I think that's a natural, I think that's a natural human instinct. But what's your most surprising find or surprising patient that you found while being a vet?
Yeah. So I feel something about being with horses. I suppose I get often, there's just something about the company of horses, and it's becoming more and more well known with their effects on someone's asking if this is going to be recorded, Kate. Sorry, Michaela. Yeah.
Yes, it
Yeah.
is,
Okay.
Michaela. Don't you worry and keep on popping in and out. It's all good.
Much as you like. Um, yeah, I find there's a presence with calming presence with horses. So sometimes I'll deal with, I'll be at the desk and I'll be a desk warrior for a while, and then I'll just get in my car and I'll go out. My poor horse trainer up the road, who I look after his horses, I'll just go there and say, I don't have to tell him. He knows I'm going there just to be with the horses. I feel a calming but I guess a couple of stories or a couple of things that have put me right in my place with animals. One is that people really take you into their lives, and I think it's an esteemed and very privileged space that people let you in when you look after their animals. And it just seems to be that animals do that to people. And when I was a student, we were looking after a monkey, a crab-eating macaque, little incredibly bright, intelligent thing, and it had broken its finger and it got infected. So the surgeons at wherever at uni amputated the finger. And our job as 4 naive, lovely students was to medicate this macaque, and we had to give it an injection on the first day. So we drew up the syringe of antibiotic, and we went up to the monkey, and he's incredibly kind and nice, and he was playing. And then one of us was at the door, and I gave the injection, and I gave the injection, I put it into his rump muscle, and he looked at me, looked very indignantly, and raised his ankles. He grabbed the syringe out of my hand, pulled it out, and he threw it at the person who was standing at the door.
Stop it.
And I thought, these aren't animals. These aren't animals. Yeah, I guess
That's incredible.
I guess the only other thing, quickly, I'll just tell you that something that just made me, I guess, primevally resonated with me in a very quite a chilling way was I looked at a dolphin that was circling and very ill, had obviously had some brain disease, and I deal with coastal issues, and I got asked would I come and deal with this dolphin, and I liaised with Melbourne Zoo, and they said, oh look, Charlie, I think you have to put that dolphin down. And so I did. I got everything. I was not an expert at putting dolphins down, but I got everything ready, and I said to the people, well, can you just hold the dolphin? And this sounds a bit freaky, but you know how practical I am, Kate. I'm not off with the fairies. But I looked at the dolphin, and I looked in the dolphin's eye. I would have put down, before I did this, 1,000 animals. It's not easy, but I can do it without being rocked. But I looked in that dolphin's eye, and something got me, and I actually.
Oh gosh.
That. Yeah.
We're both going to start crying on camera, by the way. Oh gosh.
Something there. So we've got to look after these all of God's creatures. We need to look after them. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think I come from a social background with humans, so from a counseling perspective, and I think there's almost this sixth sense of connecting with an animal that you have no words, you have nothing else but actions, and this something that connects someone else to another being, but it's not human, and it's this unspoken connection that you can build with any animal. And I think that's what a way of explaining that. It's just the look. There's just something there. Yeah, incredible. What a again, another humbling experience. My goodness.
And in experience, it says we've got to look up. So I will recycle all the plastic I can get. I'm like a nut, because I don't want any plastic to end up hurting a dolphin or hurting a seal. So I think that's my animal welfare contribution, is let's just clean up our world and bloody well look after. We've really, I'm going to swear, but I won't. We've really stuffed up the last, and now I think we're starting to realise, and hopefully it's not too late, and hopefully we'll change our government. Whoop.
Agreed. So we've got two more questions for you, and I know they're a bit more. They're going to be leading into some of these fantastic photos that you have shared with me today.
I better not go over time, Kate.
No. It's okay. We've got plenty of time. We have plenty of time.
Sorry, Shari.
I think she's enjoying this as much as I am.
You just say time out, Shari, when you want to get on, all right? Enough bullshit.
Pure gold. What sort of research, Shari, have you been involved in overseas? Because I know that's quite a passion of yours.
Yeah. So there's a couple of things I do. One is, I just went to Indonesia. I wanted to go to East Timor and do something there because I actually felt a bit of guilt about Australia and how they're so close to us, and I felt like they're a lower income country, and here we are. And I wanted to do something over there with the animals, but I guess I only ever had a few weeks here and there, and I could never get much time, and nothing ever worked out. But I used to get invited to go to this area of Indonesia called Nusa Tenggara Barat, which is West Nusa Tenggara, which is near Lombok and near Bali, but doesn't include Bali. Is the Gili Islands and Lombok. And I went there to help with these horses over there that they use. They have no cars on the island. The horses are, so you talked about equines, and I'd say working equids, that's horses and donkeys, working equids are so important to the undernourished and marginalised communities, and especially in some African countries, susceptible groups like women and children. They are so important. And I supervise a PhD student doing welfare work in Ethiopia. But my boots on the ground stuff started with the Gili Island and Lombok horses. And I found that, I soon became apparent that there was an awful lot of Facebook, social media criticism of how poorly these horses were treated and how terrible it was. So I guess I went there with a group, Animal Aid Abroad, a charity, saying, what can we do to improve the welfare? Which, to be honest, a lot of it was unjustified. These people would see horses working in the heat, which would look distressing, but it's just what they do. And I set out to take measurements, their body condition, to do basic health checks, like how many parasites do they have, and investigate issues such as, do they get overheat? Do they overheat with the work? So we've done that. We've done some surveys, and I'm in the process now. You'll motivate me to publish a few articles about this. So we strive to improve the body condition of the ponies there, and it has increased. We determined whether they had parasite burdens, intestinal parasites, and no, they don't. Unfortunately, because they don't graze a lot of pasture. They just get fed a gruel, so they're not exposed to parasites. And some of them do have trouble sweating. They have something called anhydrosis, which is a little bit of a powder keg. I'm not sure how to address this, but what I'm going to do is probably speak to Indonesian veterinary authorities and say, look, we need to address this, and that is maybe having water tanks all over the island. And we've started providing those outside certain hotels that they have water troughs. But some of the owners think letting the horses drink water makes them sick during the day. So there's a little bit of work to do. But in general, the research is to do with welfare and doing it in a very sensitive, non-bloody, what's the word, confrontational,
westernized.
Listening to them and working with them. And the way I do that is I try and work with as many Indonesian vets. When I first went over there, I called it white supermen would fly in and try and land in, do all this stuff and fly out again. I thought, well, that might make people feel good in the West, but I've tried to change the way things happen over there. That no, we get local We get Australian students and we get Indonesian students. We get Indonesian vets. We talk to Indonesian authorities and we work with them. And I think that's what I try and do, Kate.
Yeah, fantastic. And we'll stay tuned because, yeah, we do have some of your incredible photos, some from 2 years ago when you sent me
Yeah.
the feedback of your trip, and then some that you have also given to me last week, which we're really excited about. I guess, my last question is sort of, I guess, hones it all together in an animal welfare sense is, from your overseas experiences, what have you learnt about animal welfare and how can we learn from them?
Yeah, I guess I've learned that, yeah, it's a really good question, that we, I need to be careful making judgments. I
Mm,
need to contextualize. And I guess the thing that comes to mind is you see a horse a pony that's laden with a huge burden um, of material to carry,
mm,
and the horse doesn't seem too distressed, but it looks startling. And then you
mm,
see the man and the woman and the child walking behind the horse, and they are malnourished and they've
mm,
got huge burdens as well. So
mm,
I guess I've learned, one, that animal welfare helps people. Yep. That that I guess I've learned to contextualize animal welfare, and
mm,
I get very careful when I say somebody is cruel. I don't think too many people. I think there are obviously criminal type people that are cruel, but I
mm,
think most people don't mean to be cruel. They are just maybe uneducated, or they think they haven't got options. And I think to be honest, that's the area that I'm moving into now, empowering local. So I'm kind of, even though I castrate 20 horses and I do all this stuff when I go there, my focus is empowering locals. Yeah.
yeah,
And that's,
fantastic.
yeah.
Well, I think that's where movements come from, right? Education, and not only education, you're bringing all the goods, but it's that mutual respect of both cultures and both knowledges, and coming together on a humane level and actually just having a chat. Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you so much for answering all my very intrusive questions and being so honest about everything. I really appreciate that. We're going to go into some of your pictures that you've sent through, which I absolutely loved. Do you want to tell us a little bit
Oh,
about this one?
I could talk all day about these, but this, so, we used to work on, everyone used to go to Gili Island because it's a party island,
Oh,
and I found it, and yeah, Shari, you'll have to put a time check on me, all right? So what happened one day was I was on Gili and I was due to go home, and that Mount, the volcano in Bali that erupts and stops flights. I should know its name, but I'm not that good with my geography in Bali. But it's a big volcano, and it erupted, and I couldn't fly home via Bali. Usually, I get a boat to Bali, and I get a boat back. Couldn't fly home via Bali, so I got told, well, Lombok's only 10 minutes away, Charlie. We'll organise a boat for you there. Go to Lombok, and and you can fly out from there, maybe in a day or two, quicker than Bali. So
mm,
I went to Lombok, and I did have the name of a vet who I'd given a talk in Indonesia, and he said, Charlie, it's great. We're so grateful to have you talk. I said, well, you need to give me some local, I'll do the talk, but give me local vets' names around the Bali, Gili, Lombok region so I can meet them and work with them. So I had this WhatsApp number in my phone of
awesome.
a vet in Lombok. And I said, Dr. Nurul, I'm going to Lombok. Is there a chance we can meet and talk? Because I'd like to help you in future projects. And I met Dr. Nurul. This is Dr. Nurul's mate, Dr. Dia. But
Okay.
I met Dr. Nurul, and she said, come on, I'll show you what I do. And at the time, Lombok had just had a huge earthquake, and I
Mm,
went through, and I was just gutted by, how tough life was in Lombok, and and that what she did, and I thought, again, I can help these people. So I decided then, no more just working in Gili. I'll let all these animal aid abroad Aussie volunteers, they can work in Gili. I'm taking people to Lombok. So I created a bit of a charitable schism. You guys, I'll help you in Gili for a couple of days, but I'm off to Lombok. And
Great.
and so Dr. Dia would get, this is Dr. Dia here, she worked for local agriculture department, and she said, Charlie, I've got a whole village coming out. They want to meet you. They're going to bring all their horses to you. So this was a day. It's bake. You can see whenever I've got undies around my collar, it is baking hot. And they're wet undies around my collar. In every photo, I think I've got wet undies around my collar, or Speedos.
If anyone knows the tropics, I grew up in Darwin, and I know JJ as well has also grown up in Queensland. You always have like a cold towel, cold t-shirt, either on or around your neck for sure, and a hat. So I'm not surprised.
So they're baking hot. Like the students, they get around with a t-shirt. They're only doing it for a day or two, but I've got to do it for weeks. So I've always got the long daggy shit on. So baking hot, and so this is Dr. Dia, and her she gets the whole town to turn out, and it's just so humbling.
So beautiful. Yeah, fantastic. And so I can see a couple of these two students that you also brought. One stripy t-shirt. Yeah,
so there are three of them in the caps. They're all Melbourne. Melbourne Uni students. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect.
But usually I'll have a few Indonesian students too, but again, all the others wanted to be in Lombok, and that's Dr. Dia. This time it's with some cattle there. That's so they've got all these little farms. Charlie, what can we do to increase production? They said, and I said, well, maybe you can have more than 3 cows on one farm. Maybe you could get together and have like 30 cows on a farm. So that would be an average farm that have 3 cows. They would sometimes, the local vets would go and inseminate. That's all right. That's probably my favourite. Go.
I was just going to say to everyone, there is 2 graphic photos coming up that I've just flashed past, but we will dive into them because I think it's important to look at them. So, sorry, you were saying the next photo you want to bring up?
Yeah, bring the next one up.
Yeah, sure. So this is of a surgical. It's a fantastic photo.
Yeah. So that's Amara. She just graduated last year. So she went over there, and I reckon I would have taken 10 students over there, and they're all vets, and 8 of them will want to go back with me this year.
Fantastic.
Whenever I go back. But that's World Spay Day, and it's just it was organised by Rotary. I'm hoping to see a Melbourne Uni logo, but I think that's on another one. But that's organised by I met local Rotary Lombok ladies, and they organise World Spay Day, but we support it, and we probably treble or quadruple their output of spays because of our assistance. So, and there's some Indonesian vet students on the ground. There are 3 students with a red, and that's Amara, and a graphic photo of a street dog. And there's a street dog being spayed. There's rabies in Lombok, and the dogs are a lot of the locals are scared of dogs. So the overpopulation is a huge issue. So we combine spaying with rabies vaccination.
Right. Yeah, very important. Really, really, really important. And this one, I read a little bit about you. I think this is maybe a D6, but there was also another dog that, dogs can get hit by, trucks and vehicles. And so you also supported an amputation of a dog that was being cared after some local surfers from Australia.
Well remembered. So I encourage everyone to go to Kuta. This is Kuta Lombok now. Go to Lombok and go to this foam surf shop. He's a different dude, but he really looks after all the street dogs really well. And
fantastic.
So on your right, with furthest away from me, so that's Dr. Dia, who was with me with the horses and cows. And there's Dr. Nurul, beautiful smile, both of them. In the middle. Like such endearing smiles. And so Dr. Nurul is really good at doing dog spays and neutering, and she's part of the World Spay Day that I organised. And so Mike had this dog with a fractured, with a spinal injury, and this leg was sticking out, stopping him from walking. Jess, and Dr. Nurul, I said, have you ever considered amputation? And this was for World Spay Day. We had all the gear and all the vets, more vets and students, and then we knew what to do with. I said, have you ever considered amputation? He said, no one would do that on Lombok. And Dr. Nurul was their vet. I said, Dr. Nurul, if I did an amputation, would you help me? And she said, yes. So I said, would you consider amputation, Mike? And he said, I don't think I said this in the talk, Kate. He said, I'll have to think about it. I said, while you're thinking about it, would you go to the local hardware shop and buy a hacksaw blade, and we'll boil it up, and in the time it takes, you can make up your mind about whether you want to do it or not. So that's what happened. And Dr. Nurul did that with me, and she would now be willing to amputate a limb on her own after
through that education. Yeah, wow. And that dog was from the pictures I saw, like he was limping around with a leg that was quite mutilated, and it was causing mobility issues. So
and it was wearing the skin off the leg, and the dog it was like a stick stuck on the back of its of its tail.
Oh, that's it's really good. Obviously the dog's life would have been completely changed after that. Could have gone surfing even with his.
Surfing. You're right.
We have a couple more, and we're running thin on time. So this is it looks like Nurul here with a couple more of your veterinary students.
Yeah. So this is a story here. This is a horse was in that. See, it's in there. So you talk about welfare and education. So so I got asked to castrate that horse on Lombok, and I said, oh, why do you want to castrate it? Well, he's really naughty. And I said, well, what do you do with him? Well, he's in the yard. I said, do you ever take him out to walk? Oh, we're a bit scared of him. And I said, I can castrate him, but I'm not sure that's going to be the answer to your question. I said, we need to find someone. And I spoke to Dr. Nurul and Dr. Dia, somebody who can handle it. They're all stallions. They don't like castrating much over there, which is a bit dangerous. But the fact is that horse was there. It was going bonkers, and it didn't really occur to them that, the reason why he was a bit dangerous, see how far back everyone, and see how a little bit tentative I am. But he was a bit dangerous. But I said, they said there was somebody they reckon they could handle the horse. I said, well, you need to get him out and exercise and ride him. And I guess as much as I would have loved to have castrated him, I said, I don't want to castrate him until I'm happy that he's being looked after properly. And if you can't, maybe you can get somebody else to. So I guess it was just a bit of education. This guy's being cruel. Yes, I guess he is. But he had no idea. He had no idea that he was making that horse behave badly, I suppose.
Wow, what a story. And I think it's super valid. And this is our last picture. I thought it was just really to the point about, where you've been and what you're having to deal with within the constraints of the community itself, and how, looking at this from Melbourne, I'm thinking, it's, a little bit dirty, it's unkept, but this is just like they've had a earthquake, they've got really hot weather, so they're probably not going to be working through the day, they're having to make livings and things like that. I just thought it was a really beautiful moment. You can see, is this when everyone brought their horses?
Yeah, this is Dr. Deer bringing them all in here. So there they are. They're all waiting for me. So humbling.
Beautiful.
And you can see, Kate, that horse is in good condition. Like it's good body condition. And I hate to say it, but most backyards and areas in Lombok sort of look like that. There's just very, what is it? They're just a really low income country,
but they prioritize other things, whereas we like everything neat and tidy over here. They just prioritize different things, and Yeah, I think it's a real awareness, and it sort of took me for a moment and taking that judgment out as well, and being like, oh,
Yeah,
what is this actually? It's
yeah,
everyone bringing everyone together, and
yeah,
getting the horses looked at because they
yeah.
care about their
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. Wow, thank you so much. I've got Shari coming up next. Charles, if you have time, I'd love you to
yeah. I
stick
love to say,
around.
oh, look, yeah. Shari's been very good. Shari's been very kind. Least I can do.
And I think you two share a lot in common as well. So I really, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for for connecting, and for doing everything that you do, and yeah, just being educating and sending out that message, that it starts from us, animal welfare, and what we project is boots on the ground and getting actionable things done. Thank you so much for all that you do
No worries.
with
There's an
us.
Indonesian phrase called sama sama, means you're welcome. Sama sama.
Thank you, thank you.
And thanks for your support too, Kate. Like ringing me up and offering these supplies. A lot of people would have just chucked it in the bin, and I think we've got to do less of that and more of what you did. Thank
Yeah,
you.
absolutely. I thought it was shocking.
Yeah,
And just to let everyone know, Stop One is a massive building, student services building on campus, and we will continue to do that. So continue to donate out of date medical first aid supplies in future. So that's definitely something I'm really passionate about here. All right, so Shari, thank you so much for waiting. I know you've been enthralled as I have. So a big, big, big thank you to Shari, who is a volunteer, and I am going to probably pronounce this incorrectly, so please correct me, but the Maneki Neko Cat Rescue.
Yep, that's right. So Maneki Neko means lucky cat in Japanese. It's a rescue that's been around since about 2012. So started by a couple of friends. It ran out of I want to call her my manager on the weekends. It ran out of her bedroom for quite some time. She currently owns 16 cats, so some of them never actually really left. But slowly it's expanded over time to things including a lounge, which is just shut down, but a boarding facility, headquarters, and we do about 1,500 cat adoptions a year. So that's increasing pretty frequently. I think we went up to 2,500 last year, and we're on track to be on about 3,000 this year.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's a lot of work. I would also like to mention that Shari also, apart from being an all-round legend, is also my manager, and so has her hands filled
Yeah.
with our team as well. So this is something that she dedicates her weekends to, her every waking hour apart from when she's here at work with us. So thank you so much for coming on and having a chat with us. So you sent me some adorable photos. Do you want to just talk me through? We've got a couple of kitten slides, and we've got a couple of cat slides because there were so many.
Yeah, so I've been volunteering with Maneki Neko for about 3 years now. It really started because I moved. I mean, this again, I think Charles has kind of touched on sometimes the reasons are not as exciting as you would like them to be, but I actually moved into a 5-bedroom house with 4 housemates, and we realized we had a spare bedroom, so what better thing to do than to foster cats? And at that point I was quite far into the cat journey, I should say. The first picture on the previous slide was my second ever foster, so my first ever foster is asleep next to me, so that should I've ended up fostering about 45 cats through the organisation. But with the organisation, there's also a headquarters. So with headquarters, there was a cat lounge, and that's where we people can meet cats to adopt. That's where we get the cats in, cycle them in, look after them, and send them out to foster. So there's a lot of cat welfare associated with that space. And so the photos that I've put onto this slideshow are really just some of the day-to-day things that I do. I volunteer every Sunday, and that can cover. I mean, people think with cat rescues, it's really glamorous. You get to play with kittens, and all of these photos show me doing that, but it's a lot of work. So you can see in some of those photos, I'm hand feeding them. One of them, so the one on the left, I'm about to weigh that kitten as well to check that he's putting on enough weights to track his, And on the right-hand side, that was us making sure that those kittens would be able to be bottle fed, so you can see me feeding him in the next picture. So it's quite a lot of work. Essentially, we take cats in, we look after them, we clean, we medicate, we check everything, we advocate for the cats as well. So we make sure that they're able to connect with humans, we make sure that they're able to be rehomed, or we make sure that they're able to be domesticated. So a lot of cats do come in with issues if they're strays. They have trust issues, they have issues with working with humans, they have issues with the idea of being a domestic cat. And so we put a lot of work into socializing these cats so they're ready for adoption.
Perfect. And these are more kittens, and I thought this
slightly
was
older.
hilarious.
Yeah, so like I said, it is a lot of work, and one of my favorite things, I think there were a few questions we did plan, but
Yes. They're at the end, sorry.
Oh, cool. Yeah, no. So one of my favorite things is someone gave me a book when I first started volunteering called Cat Philosophy, and there's this, I just really sometimes think when I'm feeling imposter syndrome or I'm not feeling confident enough to just have the confidence of a very small cat. The sheer audacity or the sheer like self-confidence that these kittens possess, they're that small, but they're so loud, they're so self-assured, and they will absolutely just like scream, cry on you, jump on you. They have no qualms. And I think we kind of need to be a little bit more like that. So I keep these pictures if I'm ever feeling like I don't have enough confidence, to just remind myself to just be a little bit more like that. Yeah, so that's one of my fosters on the left-hand side, two of my fosters, a boy and a girl. Almost foster failed the one on the left-hand side because he was with me the longest, but he would have been my fourth cat. So, and then on the right-hand side, you can see we get a lot of pure breeds as well. So he is a purebred Bengal, that guy's very loud. They have pelts instead of coats, so absolutely beautiful. So we do see a lot of different kinds of cats. And so part of the thing that I've built up is just this knowledge of different cat breeds, how to interact with different kinds of cats, and how to encourage the personalities of cats to come out.
Yeah.
You can see that guy on the left is a Cornish Rex. So he's he was pretty badly abused when we got him in, but they tend to grow quite curly hair, and they're the closest to hypoallergic you can get with a cat. So he was absolutely beautiful once all his fur came back in, but his name was Gary, which is possibly my favorite name for a cat ever. And you can see some of my other foster kittens playing, those two at the top. And then, like I said, there's a lot of cleaning involved, but you do get followed around and helped in the lounge. So that's one of the things. It's really this interaction all the time.
Oh, it's fantastic. So I guess there's a couple of questions we did get
Yeah, so we
you
can
to
jump
sort of
to one or two.
Yeah, so I guess I'll leave the pictures up here, and I thought, you know, you do this in your spare time, and you give out of the generosity of your own heart. I'm just wondering, if students are interested, or any staff, students, anyone is interested, how we heard about how you got started.
Yeah.
What are the simple ways you think students can get started, and why should they?
Yeah, so I mean, with I first looked into volunteering at something like the RSPCA or something like the Lost Dogs Home, but the big rescues tend to actually be quite stringent with their policies and quite difficult to apply and get in. So one of the advice I would give is find a smaller rescue. There's a ton of smaller rescues around Melbourne. So Maneki Neko is a small rescue. There's places like Pause as well. There's a couple of others around here. So look into some of those organisations, because the smaller an organisation, the more they rely on grassroots help. Like I said, it is quite hard to volunteer with Lord Smith, and even now I probably would have to interview a couple of times if I wanted to, whereas with Maneki, it was really just a call out to say, can someone come in and clean the lounge? We'll show you what to do. So there is a lot of room with some of those smaller organisations for you to learn those skills and build up. The reason I'd recommend doing it is that you actually do develop quite a lot of professional skills. I know Charles touched on it when he was talking before, but there's a huge human interaction is involved with animal welfare. You do have, I mean, you assume it's interacting with the animals, and that's kind of the base of it, but you do have to interact quite a lot with other people. So there's a lot of interpersonal discussion. We do a lot of adoption, so matching the right cat to the right family. There's a lot of people surrendering cats or finding cats, so there is a lot of emotion around that. So you have to learn a lot of people skills, and it's a really good opportunity to learn some of those skills if you're thinking into going to kind of a more high stress situation or career. So something like, counselling, crisis management, all of those. This is a really good training opportunity to learn how to handle some of those situations in a really protected space.
Yeah, that's actually a really great way of touching on it as well, because that I'm a bit more from a well-being space, and we talked about prior to this a little bit about do pets have a space in the well-being area. I really like it how we could use it as work experience to sort
Yeah.
of test our skills, but I'm wondering, I know at work we have some dogs that come in and visit us, and I know that brightens my day. I'm wondering, should we do more of that? And how can rescue sort of partake in that sort of area?
Yeah, I mean, we do some, my rescue does a lot of these. So we kind of touch on this space about well-being. We do a lot of things. So we we work with an autistic school. They bring students in to meet the cats, and that gives
Right.
them, we help them, we work with them. We do creative classes as well. So we run classes in the lounge where students can interact. We also we have an, what is it called, a retirement home hour throughout the week, where retirement homes bring some of their people in and they get to meet the cats. So there's a really
Hmm.
important space in the welfare space where you can actually interact with animals and you can reach out. I think it's hugely important to have that, because I think
Hmm.
animals do really bring a real sense of well-being, and you can kind of see people working from home now, the way animals constantly interact. I've got 3 cats who jump in and out all the time. We've got other people who have pets. So I think there is a real space, and I think there's a lot of formal programs that rescues and organisations do, but I think there's also other ways to get involved. So if your workplace has volunteer days, you can ask if you could volunteer for a large organisation. You can work with Lord Smith, work with some of the partners that your organisation works with, and do some of those volunteer days with them.
Yeah.
Join things like the cat show, join things like bake sales or cat rescue days. And so there's ways that you can get involved to kind of promote that wellbeing space for yourself and advocate on behalf of yourself.
Yeah, I love that. I think, as Charles touched on, and now it's that integral part of that, between yourself and an animal, and having that relationship and building that bond and that knowledge. So I did a little bit of a research, and these are just some very small points.
Yep.
But yeah, what can we do now? I think, as Charles has said, looking after, sorry, that was meant to be world, and in doing so, our natural habitat. So making sure that we're recycling like never before. I don't want to say like a crazy person, because I don't believe in that, but as never before. Make sure that you're understanding, take away cups, straws. Like, why do we need these small plastics, and where are they going? Like Shari, volunteering your time to an organisation that cares about animals, doing your research though and due diligence, and making sure that you're not just going to RSPCA or the bigger cat shelters. Where are the smaller micro businesses and rescues that are doing that, and how can I support them? As we heard the numbers that Shari was sharing, 3,000, was it 3,000 rescues? That's incredible.
3,000 adoptions. So we've adopted out to 3,000 homes
this year in lockdown.
We'll be up to 3,000 by the end of the year. Yeah.
That is just epic, and really, really, really worrying. So yeah, there's just a few up here. I think it's, things like spreading awareness, going to fundraisers, putting boots on the ground, as we were talking before, is really, really, really important. And educating yourself around fighting for animal cruelty, but also educating yourself around, how you can do that in an educated way, not just posting on Instagram and adding it to your Facebook groups or whatever. That's not really committal. Great. So I think there's another thing I just wanted to touch on is, how can I volunteer? Shari, I'm just wondering, you said at the very start, go to smaller rescues. Is there somewhere that, I know people can see your rescue. I'm wondering if they're wanting to get in contact with you, because they're a local Melbourne business, how they can support financially, or even give time.
So the best place to find a list of all Victorian rescues is on the Pet Rescue website. You'll see that's where we put up cats for adoption. So it's an Australia-wide database, and essentially each rescue has its own page. So if you have a look through, you can actually sort by Victorian rescues and click to see different ones. I think that there's quite a lot throughout Melbourne. It's also worth having a look on things like ethical jobs as well under the animal welfare and protection. If you look through there, you can see some of the smaller businesses applying. But for us, especially, we work mainly through Facebook. So it's one of those things where you do find contact details through Pet Rescue, and then you join the public page and it calls for volunteers in different areas. So some of them are very, very grassroots. There's no formal application. It's really just starting on a volunteer page and getting involved. So it's worth having a look at that list on Pet Rescue to see what's near you and what kind of time commitments each place needs.
Excellent. And I guess that's worldwide, because that's just in Melbourne, but I know that similar things happen all over the world. So fantastic. Thank you so much for your insights on that. I would like to, we're coming to the end of our webinar, and we've heard some really profound things, really humbling experiences from both Shari and Charles. And yeah, I'd really like to say thank you so much to both of you for your tireless work supporting animals within our community and around the world. And yeah, thank you so much for attending today and getting amongst it. I'd also like to say thank you so much for joining us, everyone who has attended or re-watching this in their own time on YouTube. We're really excited that you gave it a go and clicked on it, and hopefully you are more aware and learned something really special today. I'd just like to say a quick heads up to the rest of our programs. So we do have an extensive calendar that you can find on the my.unilife app. So we have, what's on for lunch. So there's some cool cooking tips and sort of lunch recipes tomorrow run by our team. We're really excited about that. It's a bit of a live session. There's a social breakouts every Thursday and Friday from 8 to 9 run by some peers where it's super fun and you can just pop in and have a chat to other students if you're wanting to connect. We have weekly board games that my incredible colleague JJ does every Thursday night, and we have lots more, so go ahead and check them out. I know we have a movie night this week on Wednesday, so please go ahead and check them out. I'm really excited to have you along and join in being part of this community. So I'll end it there, and I'll connect with everyone, all of our panelists after this as well. But thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. And yeah, I bid you farewell, and yeah, happy World Animal Day. See you later.